Welcome back to goldfries. This is the Z490 AORUS Xtreme that supports the 10th generation Intel processor. If you followed my Facebook page, you would have known that this review is coming. So without further ado, let's find out what this board has to offer us. Let's go. As always, let's start with the upper corner where the I/O cover is. The I/O cover is of an aluminum material with a clear covering over the emblem area. This alone sets the Z490 Xtreme above many other motherboards in the market in terms of aesthetics. Up next is the beefy Fins Array 2 heatsink over the VRM. The heatsink comes with nanocarbon coating and direct touch heat pipe 2 for even better thermal transfer. The 16-phase power stages are at 90 amps each, totaling up to 1440 amps deliverable power, of which to say it's an overkill is an understatement. Here's the detail of the VRM from Gigabyte. The Z490 AORUS Xtreme comes with impressive connectivity options as well. Networking wise, there's the Aquantia LAN for 10 gigabit connection, then there's the Intel 2.5 gigabit LAN port and the Intel's Wi-Fi 6 with 802.11ax, 2T2R and BT5 support. It also has two USB Type-C connections, a host of USB Type-A Gen 3.2 connections, and even the buttons for Clear CMOS and Q Flash Plus. Over the other corner, we have the debug LED code display, the OC ignition button, and the power and reset buttons. The debug LED display is great to have, but I felt that Gigabyte could have done better with the other features. The power and reset buttons, for example, are dark. They could have placed some visible white text or icons to differentiate the buttons, as whatever writing they have on it right now has poor visibility. And then there's the OC ignition button, of which it isn't highlighted at all on the product page, and even on the manual it has only one short paragraph that does not say much. If you're familiar with Gigabyte's boards as I am, then you'll probably know what it does. On the Gigabyte Z87X OC board, this button was on the rear I/O area. Then Gigabyte moved it to on board with the Z97X SoC Force. What the OC ignition feature does is that it maintains power to the motherboard and the connected components while the system is shut down. System fans will continue to provide airflow in cold bulk situations, while RAM drive users will not lose installed data. OC ignition is also helpful for users to pre-test water cooling loops, and it also allows case mod demonstrations without having to turn on the PC. All in all, I feel that the OC ignition feature is definitely something great to have on a board of such caliber, and I hope that Gigabyte will consider giving this feature a spotlight on the Z490 AORUS Xtreme's product page. And now I'm starting to feel nostalgic and in some ways starting to feel old, but I digress. Let's move on. Gigabyte claims that the Z490 AORUS Xtreme supports beyond 5000 MHz in memory speed. I am, however, unable to validate this claim as I do not have a kit that goes beyond 5000 MHz. As for the 90 degrees connectors, it does make the board look neat, but it may lead to connectivity problems depending on your casing. As you can see, the routing of cable to the socket can be affected and it can be difficult to connect and might be even more difficult to disconnect. Now for the bottom part, as you can see, it is fully covered and the cover is called M.2 Thermal Guard 2, and it has a very faint RGB LED lighting towards the front side. The panels surround the steel reinforced PCIe 16 slots and covers the M.2 slots. The M.2 Thermal Guard 2 uses a double-sided heatsink design for added cooling capacity. Speaking of M.2 and PCIe, they are designed to support future PCIe Gen 4 implementations, but as of now, they are running at PCIe Gen 3. As with AORUS high-end board, the Z490 Xtreme is no exception, as it comes with ESS Sabre Hi-Fi that's coupled with essential USB DAC for enhanced audio output. On the underside, there is the nanocarbon baseplate that's made of aluminum instead of traditional iron, and this provides it 3 times better thermal conductivity. The heat is able to transfer from the underside of the PCB to the plate, allowing lower temperature on the PWM components by some 10%, at least according to Gigabyte. Now let's talk about the user experience. Of course, I wouldn't be running anything on stock. This is meant for overclocking, and I was fortunate enough to acquire an Intel Core i7-10700K, which is, to my knowledge, a Core i9-9900K with higher base clock, higher boost clock, and higher power draw. And the 10700K has a 5.1 GHz turbo clock, which is single core up to 5.1 GHz. But what I did with the Z490 Xtreme is I just changed the multiplier to 50 and I ran all cores at 5 GHz. I ran my usual blender test, which is the BMW render. It finished it with the first attempt. No crash, nothing whatsoever. So I wouldn't know whether it's the CPU that's great or the board, but I know that this combo, wow. Of course, you guys would know overclocking is more about the silicon lottery from the CPU, but the board does have a role and it did a great job to run the Core i7-10700K at 5 GHz. And at 5 GHz, the board isn't even stressed with the VRM heatsinks, just barely crossing the 40 degrees Celsius mark. I did not get it to go any higher because even at 5 GHz, it was really pushing my 240mm AIO from Silverstone. The temperature is around 100 degrees Celsius. That's very hot, so I'm not pushing it any further. I may do a custom water loop or use a beefier cooler for my review of the Core i7-10700K. But for now, this is a review of the Z490 AORUS Xtreme. The BIOS on the Z490 AORUS Xtreme is as what you can expect from an AORUS board. Plenty of options for you to tweak to your liking, and I'm glad it's no longer sluggish like the Gigabyte boards in the past. Overall, I think this is a great board for those of you who intend to max out your overclock of a monster processor such as the Intel Core i9-10900K with LN2 cooling. Alright, that's all for this video. Impressive board, I totally like it. Price is as shown in the description. Overall, I'm totally impressed and I'm giving it a gold badge. And if you are an overclocker and looking forward to break records with your 10th generation processor, I'm going to assume it's going to be an i9-10900K. This is the board that you definitely have to look into. Alright, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.